I know Democrats always like to point to Scandinavian countries, but I'm going to do it. One thing you notice about those countries, which do have a pretty high tax burden, but the reason there's also a higher sense among people that it's fair is that they get good results. They have good healthcare and good education. And that doesn't just happen because you put the money in. But if you put the money in and you do it right, then the public's going to be more trusting, right? That you're getting something out of those tax dollars.
So I think it's easy to do when like every girl's hot.
Huh?
All right, so Mayor Pete Buttigieg recently went on Andrew Schulz's podcast. They sat down for about an hour, covered a bunch of topics, but I clipped a few parts that really stood out. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Schulz, who always tried to brand himself as this edgy, real talk, bro who learns MAGA, suddenly seems like he is confused about his own stance. And when Mayor Pete starts pushing back with actual logic and facts, Schulz doesn't know whether to double down or play neutral. It's like watching a guy realize his hot takes don't hold up when something intelligent is across the table. Honestly, Andrew Schulz has built his whole image around playing the devil's advocate without ever taking real responsibility for his opinions. But when someone like Mayor Pete challenges, you see that cracks. Anyways, let's jump into these clips. Let's check it out.
Back to that.
You have Bernie and AOC who clearly have a message that's resonating. Why isn't the party getting behind that?
So I think a lot of what they have to say will get more and more traction in the party, especially on the economic piece, right? This idea that you have a lot of regular people in regular life getting screwed over by the way things work. And if we don't have better services and fairer taxes, like we're just never going to get through that.
And it's thrown in their face. And it's thrown in their face quite often. Look how great Biden's economy is. Look at the stock market. And they're like, that doesn't affect me at all.
Cereal's $10.
Yeah.
And what are we talking about?
I would feel deeply offended if I was them, especially when you throw that kind of support behind, one specific party. And I think that's why you saw a lot of them start to migrate. So then what do you do? Like, how do you get working class people back?
Well, first, I think we need to be more disciplined and louder about that economic message. So look, to be clear, we will be advancing policies that make sure you are economically better off. What does that mean? That means that you can, the one thing I think people do give us a lot of credit for is healthcare, but there's more to do on that, right? We're not going to let them tear up Obamacare. We're going to make sure that there is a fairer tax code, not just standing against the tax cuts for the rich that he's about to push through Congress, but actually having a tax code where there's not a benefit to a corporation, like moving billions of dollars overseas, where there's not a benefit to kind of hiding your worth, where you're not better off basically with wealth than work, which is where the tax code is right now. I think need to be much more clear about what we would provide in terms of services for people. We're the only country, I think maybe Papua New Guinea is the only other country in the world that doesn't do a policy for parental leave, some level of national guarantee that when you have a kid,
don't start this, bro.
You will get leave.
Don't start this, man. I got people trying to have kids working at this company right here. we cannot recover from this financially.
It can be done, I promise, because we did it when I was mayor. We did it locally for city employees, and
we at our company we pay for anybody that wants to have their eggs frozen.
It's great.
We don't hire women, though. But we will pay.
There's always a loophole. There's always some type of loophole, dude. These middle rich. We need to tax them. The cost of eggs are too high, bro.
Wow. I tease. See what you did.
But yes, we should absolutely pay for it.
But I'll let you finish, and then I had another question based on.
But I think there are also some things that we need to kind of rewire in the way government works to make it work better for people. And I lived this. So for example, I'm watching them basically burn the federal government down. And obviously I've got problems with the way they're destroying, cancer research or making it harder for the FAA to keep airplanes safe. A lot of that is bad. But I will also admit that I have been furious and frustrated with the way things work in our federal government. And it's actually gotten to where it makes it harder to do things that I think progressives in particular care about. Building things, building housing, building roads and bridges, which I lived for 4 years, building clean energy projects, stuff we should objectively definitely be doing. And we've gotten in our own way with these layers of process, layers of procedure. all of them introduced with good intentions, but which collectively have made it almost impossible or unaffordable to do anything.
So you want less regulations.
So we need they need to be smarter, and there needs to be less procedure. Still powerful regulations to keep people safe.
So real quick, a department to make sure the government is efficient. I think that's like really a great, I think that's.
Pete brings up something I have to acknowledge, and you should also pay focus to that Democrats should lean into the economic policies people actually like. Like, just talk about what voters want to hear. It's not rocket science, right? Remember when Kamala Harris was running and she mentioned going after price gouging, specifically grocery store pricing gouging, voters were into it. The numbers were good, and then what happened? The media, even the so-called liberal network, starts attacking the idea. They act like it's the end of capitalism if you tell corporations to stop robbing people. So Kamala's team got scared and backed off the idea, even though approval for the policy went up. That right there is a Democratic Party in a nutshell. They panic and retreat even when they are winning. Meanwhile, Republicans go full speed ahead with whatever extreme idea their base throws at them. Doesn't matter if it's nuts, they run on it. Democrats, the Medicare for all is widely popular. Bernie pushes it, AOC pushes it, but does the actual party leadership ever stand behind it? Nope. They act like it's some fringe idea when in most other developed countries, it's just called healthcare. And look, I don't even know where Pete Buttigieg really stands. If he ever became president, would he fight for any of this stuff? Or would he just play it safe and stay loyal to establishment? I don't know, but I do know the current leadership, Pelosi, Schumer, the whole crew, they want nothing to do with bold, progressive policy. They are completely out of touch with the base. What is sad is that the Democratic base actually wants good things like universal healthcare, fair wages, and corporate accountabilities. But the people running the show just aren't interested. Meanwhile, the Republican base wants stuff that horrifying, and their party actually delivers. So yeah, Pete had some good points, but does the Democratic Party have the backbone to act on any of it? That's the real question. Anyway, let's check out this next clip where they dive into where our taxes actually go.
Okay, Pete, here's the actual question I have. I hear a lot of what you're saying is tax the rich, they need to pay their taxes. I remember moving from Texas to California. Texas, I started paying taxes, and it was like, I remember I was working at Verizon Wireless and doing a horrible job selling cell phones, and my commission would get taxed at like 40%. And I was like, okay, fair enough. But then I'm driving, the roads suck. The schools, from what I heard, sucked. New York, same thing. Very high taxes. There's no Second Avenue subway. Schools are horrible. If you have any kind of money, it seems like you're sending your kids to private schools, or you live in such a rich neighborhood that the public school is basically a private school. What? The tax money seems like it gets wasted. It doesn't get used wisely. So I have like an aversion to, they should pay their taxes, because my reaction is, I've seen what happens when people pay taxes.
I agree with that, what he said about California. I think what he said about California was...
I'm not going to shit on one state or another, but
good.
There is obviously a relationship between the results you see and your willingness to trust that there's anything you're getting out of your tax dollars.
My trust is very low.
Especially with Americans' trust is very low, right? And if you look at, I know Democrats always like to point to Scandinavian countries, but I'm going to do it. One thing you notice about those countries, which do have a pretty high tax burden, but the reason there's also a higher sense among people that it's fair is that they get good results. They have good healthcare and good education. And that doesn't just happen because you put the money in. But if you put the money in and you do it right, then the public's going to be more trusting, right? That you're getting something out of those tax dollars.
So I think it's easy to do when like every girl's hot.
This guy.
No, like, have you been to Scandinavia? It's like every girl's hot, right? So
you're asking the wrong guy.
Sorry, the dudes are hot there too. The dudes are good-looking guys. If you're into that look, I don't know if you're into that look.
So Andrew Schulz cracks this dumb joke, and honestly, it's one of those moments where you just sit there thinking, what the hell is this guy even saying? Even Pete Buttigieg looks lost, and that's rare. I have never seen Mayor Pete just sit there confused, not knowing how to respond. But here is the thing, that awkward moment actually highlights a really common argument you hear in US political discourse, especially from people like Schulz. It's that tired excuse, well, we can do that here because we are not like those Scandinavian countries. They are small, they are homogeneous, they are different. It's the go-to excuse for why America supposedly can't have universal healthcare or high-speed rail or functioning public system. And frankly, it's absolutely BS. America is the richest, most powerful countries in the world. Don't tell me we can't do something when we clearly just won't. The truth is, we don't have decent healthcare, decent public transit, or even well-funded school. Not because it's impossible, but because our government is completely captured by corporate interests. Lobbyists run the show, and yeah, other countries deal with corporate influence too, but not on the absurd level we have in the US. So while Andrew Schulz thinks he is being funny or clever, he is actually just parroting the same weak argument that right-wing grifters have been pushing forever. And maybe he doesn't even realize it, but that's the problem. These bro podcasters pretend to be edgy thinkers, but when it comes down to actual policy or systematic issues, they just dodge everything like they always do. And then there is the tax argument. What am I getting for my taxes? It's a fair question. People see billions going to wars, tax breaks for billionaires, or random nonsense like Trump's Alcatraz border stunt, but their roads are falling apart and schools are underfunded. Then when we ask for basic improvements in daily life, suddenly it's, oh no, we can't afford that. Look at that deficit. It's a scam. People are sick of it, and that's why so many are disillusioned with government, because it only seems to work for the wealthy, the powerful, and the defense contractors. So yeah, Andrew Schulz made a dumb joke, but it accidentally pointed to a much bigger issue. The US can do what other countries are doing. We just chose not to, and if we disagree, tell me why, because we are too diverse or we are too big. Excuse doesn't cut it anymore. Thanks for watching, and if you are new to this channel, please make sure to subscribe and help me to reach 1000 subscribers. Thanks for watching.